Part of the reason is I have only one agenda. I have two agendas, actually, that we understand each other better and that we get along better. I'm not a man fan, and I'm not a woman fan. I really am not. I think it's pretty evident to you. I'm a good person fan. There are good and bad women and good and bad men. And I suspect it's an interesting question. Are the ratios the same? Is the percentage of wonderful men and wonderful women, is it the same percentage? Only God knows. I don't know. Only God knows. But it's still an interesting question. So today, in light of all the heaviness of the news, I'm going to do a lighter topic on the male-female hour. And here it is. What do men smuggle into the house, and what do women smuggle into the house? And I will offer you a definition of smuggle. Buying a relatively expensive thing and not telling your spouse. You may not consider it smuggling. I do. Okay? I mean, if you spent a few $100 on anything, and unless you're billionaires, it's irrelevant, and then spending $500,000 doesn't matter. But for most people, spending hundreds of dollars on an item is golf clubs is an example. That is a possibility, mostly on the male side. Shoes would be an example. Do you tell your husband every time you buy shoes? Do you tell your wife every time you buy golf clubs? Or some new gadget? Men love gadgets. I do. Absolutely. So I asked someone I know very well. I won't tell you who it is. You might want to guess, but I won't tell you who it is. And I will even tell you when I asked this person. I won't even say male or female, but when I asked this person during the break. And I asked this person, do you smuggle anything into the house? Of course not. Really? Do you tell your wife every time you get a new iWatch?
Alan, his producer, the guy who runs the whole thing, who's somewhere between my mom and an Easter Island head in terms of gregariousness and encouragement.
So wait a minute, Triple G, is that your guess? Look, it's what do we call a knowledgeable guess? Is that the term people use for it? An informed guess. Yeah. So you may not think you do this, but you probably do. So what might that be? Or what do you think your spouse does? That is buying a relatively or truly expensive item, but not telling you. So I was thinking about me. What have I done in that regard? So I'm thinking, I can think of really only one arena where in the past, it's not an issue at this time, but in a previous incarnation of marriage, I don't think I mentioned honey, there's a new preamplifier. And how many women would even know? Well, they do know. The point is that you think they do care because of the money spent. They don't care about the preamplifier. They care about the money. That's the only reason people don't tell their spouse that they bought something, is because the spouse might, whoa, you spent that much? Yes, on 5 pair of shoes, on a preamplifier, on golf clubs, on an iWatch. You just got an iWatch last year. Oh, there's a new model. Oh, of course. Half the time, the new models, you know what new models often constitute? A new name. That is the most new thing often in gadgets. Sometimes there's really an improvement. I fully acknowledge it. I don't know. Look, you've heard the saying, the difference between men and boys is the price of their toys. Have you ever heard that? It's a very good. Now I knew that the Living Martyr heard it, but Triple G hasn't. The gentle Gentile giant. It's a great saying because it's true. So that's the subject for today, my dear listeners. 1-8 Prager 776-877-243-7776. So Triple G wants to know,
yeah, sure.
Do people smuggle food?
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah, sure? What does that mean? What does that mean, smuggle food?
Well,
I don't understand the concept.
they'll eat things that they shouldn't eat.
They'll eat things they shouldn't eat. Oh, they'll buy food that the spouse doesn't want them to be eating.
Yeah.
Oh, I never thought of that. That is very interesting. I have to say I don't recall doing that. But no. But I think that's a very eminently reasonable assumption. And my wife is one of the most self-disciplined human beings I know, and is beautiful, and is trim. And one of the things she does, she knows herself very well. So if there's candy in the house, it says to her, look, if you really want candy, you could have it, but it pretty much stays there until the next atomic attack. But I didn't know that until I opened a drawer once and saw all this candy. It cracked me up because I know how little she eats, period, let alone candy. By the way, it's a very good thing to know yourself. And if you have to play tricks on yourself, play tricks on yourself.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. If it's do what is effective. I mean, it's not fully analogous, but it is somewhat analogous. There are two types of people, just on the food issue. There are two types: people who can eat nothing, no sweet, let's say no dessert, or they will have the entire dessert. And there are people who can easily have a little and leave the rest over. I'm in the second category. I can't have nothing. I tried it. I mean, I was able, but it bothers me. I want to have something, but I'm happy to have some of it. I don't need a whole donut. A whole donut would strike me as overkill, like I really violated dietary rules. But you have to know yourself. That's a very that's for the happiness hour. But this is a fun topic, and it is interesting. So remember, my definition of smuggle into the house is you're buying something that's not cheap. I mean, I don't expect you to tell your spouse, you know, you got something for $10. It's a non-issue. But something relatively expensive or not cheap, and you didn't tell them. That's what I call smuggling. From preamplifiers to shoes to golf clubs, what might it be?